Okay, so I suppose inquiring minds want to know. First off, of course, I'm my son's biggest advocate. Ken is a great guy, no doubt. I raised a good boy. I raised 2 good boys and 3 great daughters. Am I anti-Gypsy? No, I'm really not. I'm an older woman. I understand the bond of a mother and a child. I look deeper into people's mistakes. I've always been a very non-judgmental person. And do I think Gypsy did wrong? Yes, I do. I've met Gypsy, and guess what? She knows she did wrong too. If Gypsy could go back in time, she would do something different. But none of us can do that. I think all the hate is ridiculous. I think she got out of prison. She got on social media. What person isn't nowadays? Especially young people. I think that she got tripped up with some of her words, and man, did everyone pounce. Do I feel sorry for Nick Godejohn? I do. I feel sorry for him. Obviously, there's some mental illness there. He's autistic. But on top of being autistic and having mental illness, I think Nick possesses a true darkness. And for that, I don't know that I'd want to see Nick back on the street. Or if so, if he were back on the street, I'm not opposed to it. At least after receiving some real mental help. You know, let's go back to the bond of mother and child. And this is why my sympathy goes to Gypsy. None of y'all know. You talk about how she's so manipulative and how she learned from her mother. Well, a lot of that is true. She did. Because we all learn from our mother. Especially when it's a one-child situation and a single mom. You know, she didn't have her dad in her life like he would have wanted to be, but he was working. I'm not putting anything down on anyone, or putting anyone down, I should say. He was working man. He paid his child support. And, you know, back in those days, that made you father of the year. Trust me, I know. I raised 5 all by myself, and I didn't get child support. But, you know, a mother can manipulate. Especially, she had Gypsy since infant on. Okay, this was her daughter. And so, by the time Gypsy was 15, 16, and May could have or could not have been in on it, as people say, at that point, she was so controlled by her mother, she wouldn't have had a choice, you know? And then as she got older, as we do, as human beings do, our brain starts developing. We start having our urges. We start wanting our lives. Some rage had to set in on this girl. How could it not? How can anyone not expect some anger to come out of her when she would try to get away and her mother not just physically retained her, but mentally retained her as well? I've seen all the documentaries on Gypsy, learned some stuff past her getting out of prison, and I still just don't look at her like she's some evil monster. I think she was a victim. I think she chose the wrong way to get out of that situation. I think she partially paid for it. And for all you people saying, oh, she should have never gotten out of prison. I mean, personally, I don't think she should have gone to prison. You know, people have killed their captor many a times. And there's people who didn't. And people have killed their abuser. And there's people who didn't. And I don't know, because we'll never know, that Gypsy wouldn't be dead right now. You know, her mom loved that attention. And that poor, pitiful me. And as Gypsy was getting older and maybe wanting to explore her own life, I could very much see a possibility of her mother killing her. Again, I understand where people are coming from, but as a, with age comes maturity. And as you can see, I got lots of maturity going on here. And I just want to say, give her a break. Give her some time. Let her go through her therapy. Let her heal. Let her mind develop in a normal world, in a normal situation with loving people around her. I don't think Gypsy would ever do that again. I don't think she would ever in a million years reoffend. I think she is scared. I think she wants to learn. I wish nothing but the best for her. I hope that some part of her life can be happy, because let's face it, she went 23 years with a captor. I mean, that's what her mother was a captor, teaching her horrible things, teaching her disgusting, vile things, to 4 days of freedom with Nick, and then prison for 8.5 years. So, she's just now experiencing really what any of us would call the real world. And so who are we to jump on this poor girl because she said the wrong thing in one interview? And going back to, oh, she's a manipulator, she's a fraud, she doesn't consider herself a murderer. Well, how many people have told this girl that? Okay? How many people have told her, oh, what you did you weren't the real murderer. You weren't the one who did this. That was Nick. So of course she's going to get that dialect in her vernacular. That's only natural. I know Gypsy, and I know she inner reflects, and she feels horrible that she could not have come to a different solution. As far as my son is concerned, when he met her, it was not in a dating sense at all. He wrote her to say he had empathy for her. My children are like me. We have big hearts. And Ken is no exception. He has a big heart. And he became friends with her. He was never attracted to her in the beginning. It wasn't until he saw her in person, actually, that he was like, oh my God, I'm attracted to this girl. And he battled with that because he knew people thought he was a weirdo. And so he kept it very hush-hush and very private. And then when, her story was coming out, around the time the act was coming out, a lot of people reached out to him. A lot of big names. I'm not going to, no need to say them. But you all know who she's interviewed with. Don't think for a minute they didn't reach out to her and me. And, he really listened to that. He really did. He took that to heart. And he and I talked, and he said, Mom, I don't want to do anything to hurt her. She's been hurt so much in her life. What should I do? And, of course, I told him, you have to go with your gut. But she probably does need to get out and live her life and have some freedom, and then see where things go. Now, to all the, are they getting back together? Are they getting back together? First off, Gypsy is a married woman, okay? Now, no one can tell the future. I'm not psychic. I'd love to meet that Teresa chick, but I think she just talks to the dead. But I don't think the dead can tell us the future. But, as of right now, she's presumably a happily married woman, and I want her to stay that way. I want nothing but the best for this poor girl. She's had enough beatdowns and enough heartache for 5 lifetimes, for real. Let the girl have some happiness. In the future, Ken is, he's working, he's got a girlfriend, he's, living his life. I don't know what the future holds. No one does. But for right now, I will just say, Ken wants the best for Gypsy. I want the best for Gypsy. I think that, these people coming on and presuming the worst about her don't know her and are just nitpicking on each little word. And come on, guys, we can do better than that. You know, we need to be about love and peace